Welcome back. The numbers when it comes to sexual assault victims are staggering. 1 in 4 girls and 1 out of 6 boys will be sexually assaulted before their 18th birthday. And one local sports writer is part of that statistic. And now he's doing everything in his power to help those affected. Most sports fans in Northeast Nebraska either know Mike Carnes or have read something written by him. Carnes has covered sports for the Norfolk Daily News, Dakota County Star, and he's currently the managing editor for the Wayne Herald. But the guy that always seems to have a smile and a joke has had a very large cloud hanging over his head since he was 9 years old.
I was hanging out with some friends. We were doing what 9-year-old boys in 1976 normally did, which was basically ride bikes around town. And the older brother of one of my classmates took my bike from me and decided to take it for a little joyride. He offered to give me a ride home. Being the naive little boy that I was at the time, I said, sounds like a good idea. I'll hop on back. We never made it home. We wound up behind the swimming pool in the small town in Newman Grove, Nebraska, and I was presented with 2 options. I could either succumb to his lustful sexual desires, or I could have the crap beat out of me and possibly be killed.
Carnes went home and reported the incident. His attacker received a slap on the wrist with probation, but Carnes was left with emotional scars that would haunt him for decades.
If I could sweep it on the rug and forget about it, if I didn't ever have to think about it again, then I think we're all winners then. Right. but that's not how it works.
30 years after his attack, on his 40th birthday, Mike's life had reached an all-time low.
All the important stuff in my life I was failing on. I was failing as a dad. I was failing as a journalist. I was failing as a business person. And the only thing I could think of to get away was to kill myself. I walked down to the river. I stood there along the banks and just kind of watched the water go by, and I thought, all I need to do is take 2 steps and this is over. And I don't have to feel any pain anymore. And then I got to thinking about what kind of impact this would have on my daughter. Just something about that just said, this isn't how you want to go.
So Carnes started picking up the pieces, and this sports writer would find his inspiration in a huge sports story.
Over the weekend, Sandusky wouldn't talk about charges he sexually abused 8 boys over.
Yeah, when that story hit, it was just like taking a scab and just ripping it off and reopening the wound. The suffering has gone on long enough, and somebody needs to do something about it. And in the middle of the night, voice woke me up in the middle of a hot summer night saying, write the book. And at that moment, I knew that was what I needed to do.
Mike pounded out the first 3 chapters that night. 4 months later, Call Me a Survivor was finished.
The message is that we are survivors, that I'm not going to go through the rest of my life looking at myself as a victim. And I want to help people who've been through what I've been through to understand that they are survivors as well.
But Carnes didn't stop at the book. He went to the state capitol to meet with Attorney General John Bruning.
Hey, John.
About getting tougher penalties on sexual predators and mandatory education on sexual assault in every school in Nebraska. And just to make sure he reaches as many people as he can, he's added public speaking to his resume as well.
If one person comes away from me talking about my experience and make a positive turnaround, that's it right there. That's what it's all about.
I am Michael Carnes, and I am not a victim of child sexual assault. I am a survivor.
Now, the reason Mike says he's a survivor and not a victim is because victim is such a negative word, but survivor describes someone who has been through something tough and lived to tell about it and has went on with their life. If you'd like to buy Mike's book, it's available on Amazon. You can contact Mike to speak at your function by emailing him at mikeycpro@gmail.com. He's an excellent speaker. Call Me a Survivor is also on Facebook and Twitter, so give it a follow.